Hello, everyone. I see that many people have already connected. My name is Ekaterina. Please let me know if you can hear me, and you should be able to see my first slide. Okay, I see that everything should be working. Okay, hello, everyone. It's very nice to see you. Lots of people from all over the world. I'm in Europe, in Montenegro. Okay, so since everything's working, I think we'll begin. I'll close the chat now, but I will look in from time to time since there are a lot of people here today and possibly more will connect. If you would like to ask a specific question, please use the question tab. I will try to follow, I will, as I said, open the chat and look through it from time to time, but in the chat I might miss your questions. So if you want to ask a question, use the special tab for that in Zoom interface. Okay. Also, you can use the chat for networking. So please feel free to share your LinkedIn profiles and connect with each other. I will share my profile in the end of the session, and some of you have already connected with me. Also, I would like to note that I am active on LinkedIn and I always answer to people who write to me. So I'm happy to connect with you and continue the discussion there and answer any questions that you might have later. Okay, I mentioned the QA tool. Feel free to use it to ask specific questions about the slides and the content and the tools that we'll discuss today. Also, you will have unlimited access to webinar contents and recording on TranslaStars website, where you registered for this webinar. And you will have the recording with the slides there. But of course, you are welcome to make notes alongside. And when we practice, I will post the links in the chat so that you will be able to practice yourself with the text that I've selected. I understand that we all speak different languages, and the practice today will be kind of centered around English. So we will translate into English, and we will work a lot with English content, but you're welcome to practice alongside. And if you read the description, you might have already created the accounts for practice. And I will post the links to the chat so that you can open them on your device. Also, please note that participants have access to the chat and the QA tool. We have a lot of people here today, so you will not be able to turn on your microphone, but you will be able to ask questions in text format. And also, I'm happy to announce that all attendants of this webinar can use a 50% discount on all TranslaStars courses and plans with the code AI50. It works until the end of the day in Central European time tomorrow. So it covers all the upcoming AI courses and all the other courses and subscription plans. So a little bit about me. I'm a medical translator and writer. I've been in the industry since 2007. I'm originally a pharmacist. I also have a translator's degree, but I've never actually worked as a pharmacist. I worked as a translator since graduation. So I also have been involved in training and evaluation of AI tools since July last year. I worked as a project manager, and I worked as a writer since 2022. And I've been teaching since 2015 in different online platforms. I've joined TranslaStars last year. So here's my LinkedIn profile. You'll have it in the end of the slides as well. And after this short introduction, I'd like to know more about you. So if you haven't done so already, I see that you're sharing your LinkedIn profiles. Please let me know whether you are a freelancer or an employee of a language service provider. What is your role? Are you a translator, an editor, maybe a writer or a copywriter? And do you use any of the AI tools that are available now? So as you can see from my profile, I have a wide view of the translation and localization process because I started as a project manager, well, editor, then project manager in a translation agency. And that's why I think I'm enthusiastic about AI tools in the industry, because I can see how they can benefit everyone, and including the linguists. We won't go into discussions today about how AI is shaping the industry, because it's not the main topic of the webinar, and it is shaping the industry whether we like it or not. But I will give you a few links to the resources where you can follow the best industry news. So I see that we have many freelancers here, both translators and interpreters, translators from different fields. Okay, that's great. Audiovisual translation. I think that AI can change a lot in audiovisual translation too. Okay. So we will talk a bit more about what to expect and what to not expect from today's webinar. Then I will give some theoretical introduction into the technology that is behind all these tools that we'll be looking at today. Then we'll compare 5 of the most popular tools: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, and Llama. And then we will talk a little bit about prompt engineering. A prompt is the request that you give to the tool. And we will talk about how to best construct this prompt, which elements you can include, how to make this prompt more effective. And then we will practice 4 scenarios that are relevant for the translation and localization industry, and that are actually practiced and developed today. Okay, so today we will learn what is artificial intelligence, large language models, generative AI. We will look at the differences between ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, and Llama. These tools are similar, but there are some nuances, and we will compare them. And then we will practice in different tools so that you have the opportunity to see the interface. And I will point out some individual features during practice as well, so that the session is more interactive and not just text. So we will try to save more time for practice. And also, today I'll try to set up a positive attitude toward these tools in the industry. So I will talk about how to make them more efficient for you and how to make them work for your benefit. Also, we will practice 4 different scenarios. And as I mentioned, you can also practice alongside and share your findings, your results in the chat. You're more than welcome to do that. But probably you will not be able today to engineer tailored prompts for your specific work scenarios. We simply won't have time for that. This is a basic introductory webinar, and we won't be able to practice long enough to build a skill. So again, it's more of an introduction. So I will show you what you can do, and you can practice later or enroll into a longer course to hone this skill if you like. So, introduction. Well, first of all, I would like to say, and I'm glad to hear experts say the same thing, that AI have been in the translation and localization industry for a long time, much longer than in many other industries, because we've been working with machine translation for quite some time before ChatGPT appeared on the scene. And neural machine translation is also AI. So basically, AI is an umbrella term for all the intelligent systems that can mimic human behavior and decision-making process. The tools that we will look at today are generative AI. So it's the type of AI system that can create or generate new content in different formats: text, images, music, videos, or a mix of these formats. There's also a term, a large language model, and large language model is for generating human-like texts based on large amount of data. It is a specific application of generative AI for language-related tasks. And also, large language models are integrated into tools that don't produce text, the output is not text, but you use this chat-like interface to interact with the model, and you do it through the large language model. And what about neural networks? So you can also hear about neural networks, and neural machine translation is based on neural networks, but these systems are smaller than large language models and more specific. And the tools like ChatGPT are also involve neural networks. It's a complex system. And the second important thing that I would like to point out in this theoretical introduction, you see that I'm not going into deep technical terms. I'm not a data scientist or a coder or something like that. I'm a linguist. So I just wanted to say a few words about how large language models work. Basically, they work by making predictions and calculating probabilities. So they are built, they calculate the required result by weighing different factors that will influence the outcome. These factors come from the model training, and also they come from the prompt, the request of the user. So large language models take this into account and perform some very complicated calculations, and then they calculate the probability of what very basically it sounds like what a human would do in this situation. So artificial intelligence should function like a human, so they basically predict a human response based on their data sets and the training, and that's why they make all the mistakes they make, because they can miscalculate. So basically, you can say that, well, last year, some people said, at least this year, the technology is a bit more advanced than last year. But last year, people said that large language model works like an average student who knows something and doesn't know something, and they just guess. Instead of learning more and trying to understand how things work, they make guesses. So that's what large language models do, except today they are more intelligent, and there are additional technology that is integrated into the systems to make large language models more effective, more predictable, to avoid different mistakes. Also, for translators, it's important to understand that models are not created multilingual. So most of the models are created around English content, and there is an additional process for them to create multilingual content through translation. So, for example, when you interact with ChatGPT in a language other than English, both input and output goes through translation. And if the model is designed specifically for languages other than English, then it can be trained in other languages to create better content in other languages. And today we can see the trend to specialized tools, and this is also applicable to translation. So basically, I've noticed that, for example, ChatGPT is getting better at translation, especially if you create the right prompt, and we will talk more about it when we practice translation. I think it's because the technology is getting better, but also the specific AI-based translation tools that are developed by language service providers are more specialized, and they might be based on the same technology as ChatGPT, but they are fine-tuned to produce translation. And these large tools that we are going to try today, they kind of offer you endless possibilities. They can work with images, with text, with audio. They can produce all of these formats. And at the same time, they are large. And when you ask them to do a specific thing, you don't use all the other modules or the other capabilities of this model. So if you use a more specialized tool, you can get a better result with less resources, with a smaller model, because it's been trained, it's been fine-tuned for a specific application. And in September, we'll have a course when we will look at different specialized tools. So I'm telling you all this just to to show you the perspective and the current developments and the current trends. Because if for me, it looks like when I try to understand the whole picture, there are lots of news and webinars and talks about different things, lots of platforms and models and brand names, and they appear that they are rebranded, renamed, specialized, or they offer additional capabilities. And that's why I'm telling you the perspective on what is happening specifically in the translation and localization industry, so that you can also gain a better understanding and get a more realistic perspective, I think. I hope. Okay, so we talked about how these models can make mistakes because they calculate probabilities and try to predict, try to imitate human data that were used during training. So the models can hallucinate. They just, out of the blue, they produce just something, some silly responses and that do not fit the prompt at all. Also, they can be inaccurate. There can be factual inaccuracies, or they cannot follow the instructions. And also, they can produce the so-called canned responses. They can say, I'm a large language model, I'm not fit for this task, or I'm a large language model, I don't know this thing, sorry. And during the next iteration, you might get a different response. Sometimes these canned responses are related to the limitations that were built into the model for safety. For example, to prevent it from producing some harmful content. And sometimes it's just a response that you get because when this, when the model works by calculating the most probably suitable response, it can give you different responses to the same prompt during different iterations. So if you ask the same prompt several times, you will probably get different responses. And I will show you how to use it for your benefit. But it is also the source of inaccuracies and not suitable responses. So if you get a response you're not satisfied with, you can improve your prompt, or you can just simply try another time. Maybe it will produce a different response next time. Okay, this is the picture I showed. I think basically it's the slide I showed last year during a similar webinar, and well, it's just we're getting closer to this prediction. It's a forecast that AI will not replace linguists, probably, but linguists who use AI will replace most linguists who don't. As with all types of technology, we know that not everyone has to adapt the new technology to survive and thrive, but most people usually have to. And a year and a half after ChatGPT was introduced and all this heavy research of AI has started, we can say for sure that AI is here to stay. And in translation and localization industry, last year, well, a year ago, people were sure that large language models do not outperform neural AI trained and specialized engines, were better than large language models. Today, you can hear people saying different things, that large language models that were built specifically for translation in a specific domain, for example, they do outperform neural MT, neural machine translation, the technology that we've been living with since, I think, 2016, maybe. I think 2016, yes. So the future of the industry is using AI in many different processes. And AI also offers language service providers lots of opportunities to expand their services, to offer more complex solutions. And for linguists, I think it's best to learn how to use it, and for freelancers as well. AI gives freelancers opportunity to improve their work processes, to offer more complex services. So it's better to get involved than to ignore it. Okay, any questions? Maybe I think I'll make a short stop. Okay, Maria, the webinar is going to be recorded. It is being recorded, and you will access it on TranslaStars website. It will be available for unlimited time. Okay. So let's talk a bit more about the place of generative AI and large language models, specifically in translation and localization process. So basically, there are two ways to integrate AI in translation and localization. The first is to augment the current processes that involve machine translation. And the second option is to add AI to the processes that do not involve machine translation, like transcreation. So here I've included the empty output in the picture, but this also applies to processes that do not usually involve empty. Okay. There are many ways to benefit from AI. You can use it to improve the style or to analyze the source. If we're talking about the source text, it can be adapted to machine translation. It can be analyzed to make the target text compliant. And after analyzing the source, we can ask AI to account for style, specific sentence length, gender requirements, inclusivity requirements. We can ask the AI to account for a general context and objective of translation. And as for the confidential data in the source, it depends on which tool you're using. So language service providers usually use in-house systems that can be based on commercial solutions, but they use a more closed system with better protection of confidential data as compared to the tools that are available to general public, like ChatGPT. If you're using tools, one of the tools that we're using today, you probably want to avoid putting any confidential information or trade secrets into these tools. We'll talk a bit more about it later. So then we can apply large language models. After the machine translation step, we can ask large language models to proofread translation, to analyze quality, to improve the output as well. And we can improve output not only in terms of fluency, but also in terms of, again, style, sentence length, and gender, and any other requirements. Basically, it means tailoring the translation to specific requirements. And also, large language models, they can make the translation consistent. They do not view the text segment by segment. They can account for the whole text when producing different segments. This is what neural machine translation is not capable of. You know that machine translation is not consistent. So it is produced segment by segment, and it can't handle the abbreviations properly, and it can use inconsistent terms if they're not in a term space or if they're not in a glossary. And large language models, they can actually account for all these factors and produce a better result. And also AI can be used on the final steps. So after post-editing, you can use AI to proofread or perform QA of the translation, and again improve all other parameters of translation after post-editing. Basically, in different industries and different domains, language service providers are assessing different scenarios and selecting the scenarios that fit their purpose best. There is there are a lot of possibilities. I see that we have 2 questions, so I'll open the question box now. Okay. The first question is, I didn't understand clearly canned responses of AI models. Canned responses, when we get to practice very soon, I will show you, I will try to provoke the model to produce this response. It's basically AI saying like, I'm a large language model, or I'm an AI tool and I cannot do what you ask me to do. That's a canned response. So basically the model refuses to do the task and justifies it by just being an AI model. So I hope it helps. The second question is there are the AI tools for content creation, not only translating? Well, the tools that we are going to test today are intended for content creation. Translation is just one of the applications. All of them are suitable for text creation, and there are specific tools to create images and video. So yes, of course, there are. It's just not the topic of today's webinar. Okay, talking about the process, just a bit more. And you can hear people say that there will always be a human in the loop. There is always a human in the loop, meaning that in the translation and localization process, there will always be a human who will evaluate the responses, who will control the quality of the product. But today, I suggest we talk about it. We talk about the place of large language models in the loop. So we will talk about how to integrate large language models into your process. And I suggest this because AI is helpful when it is a specific part of a process. When you know what you want from AI, you get the result and you get the benefit. So the question is, do you really know your own process where you want to integrate the AI tool? If you don't, you can ask the AI to help you clarify your work process. This way, when you view it like this, you are more likely to get an advantage from an AI tool, to help this tool save your time or help you overcome a challenge, and because AI is just a tool, and you can find a place for it. I hope it makes sense. I think this approach helps retain a positive perspective and use these tools for your benefit. Also, a funny thing about large language models in translation is that they can translate through self-reflection like a human would. It's an approach to teach large language models to translate. It's described on Slater website. So large language models can translate, then assess their own translation, and then improve it. It's also how they are different from neural machine translation, because they can perform several iterations and improve the output. And neural machine translations simply produce an output, and humans have to deal with it. Actually, from my experience, large language models are nicer to work with because you get a more consistent output. You can tailor it to a specific style or a specific domain. And it's like you have to edit a better translation, and editing a better translation is always more pleasant and more rewarding than editing a not so good and inconsistent output. Okay, so I've already said that today's view on LLMs in translation is a bit different from what we heard last year. There is evidence from experts that customized large language models outperform neural MT agents, also customized neural MT agents, because of their ability to take in the context, the target audience objective, because they can make translation more consistent and so on. Okay, so we talked about what is artificial intelligence, what are large language models, and we talked about how large language models are different from neural MT, how to make most of large language models by integrating them into your specific process. And if you need to figure out this process, then you have to figure it out before looking into different applications of large language models, because it will make more sense and bring you more benefit to do so. So today my task is to show you these specific applications of large language models in translation processes, and we will also talk about multilingual content creation in the end. So all for the purpose of showing you the available options, so that when you continue working with these tools and continue testing these tools after the webinar, I hope you will think about this introducing large language models into your loop, into your process, and it will help you use it to your advantage. And here are the names of 3 information resources and news resources that I highly recommend. If you want to follow the industry news, I would advise against simply scrolling through social media and looking for AI-related headlines or posts, because there is a lot of hype, a lot of emotional headlines that make you click and read without specific purpose. And if you open Slater News or Common Sense Advisory Research or Nimdzi, you will find curated content from industry leaders presented from a business perspective, more than just this emotional hype around how we will be all replaced by AI, or how AI will solve all our problems just in a year or so. I especially recommend Nimdzi webinars. They conduct a lot of open events. They have a podcast where you can listen to experts, ask them questions, and get the realistic, practical information. And Common Sense Advisory conducts surveys and presents reports. They also have a good blog, also exploring different approaches to how to train language models, how to use them in translation and localization industry. So if you want to stay on top of the news, I recommend these sources. Okay, so then we will turn to the specific tools, and before that, I'll look at the questions. Catalina, I hope I'm right, is saying, how is LLM different to neural machine translation? Okay. Neural machine translation is based on, well, it's a type of artificial intelligence that is based on neural network, and it has less capabilities than large language models. Neural machine translation neural machine translation engines are created to perform machine translation tasks, simply translation. Large language models can generate content for much more purposes, including translation. Large language models also, these tools that use large language models like ChatGPT, they also use neural networks, but neural networks together with large language models. And that's why they are capable of much more than neural machine translation. That's how they can account for the context, for you can assign a role. You can ask ChatGPT, for example, to perform like a professional translator, or you can say that the text is intended for a specific audience or a specific social media channel, and ChatGPT will tailor the output to these requirements, while Neural MT it just has less capabilities. So I hope I answered your question. I know it's not very techy, but I'm not a technical specialist, and it's not a purpose of this webinar to go into more technical detail. If you like to know more about the technical side of things, I recommend to check these resources that you see on the slide and find answers there. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, there is a question from Paulo. Curious to see as a freelancer how to deal with the confidential data question. For example, as an audio-video translation professional, one use might be to transcribe the video file and or to pre-translate it. Yes, correctly. But it raises issue of NDA violations. Yes, it does. And if you know that the video or a text you're working with is, if it's not in the public domain, then you can't feed it to ChatGPT. If it's, you might find a specific AI tool for transcribing that handles confidentiality better, or you can discuss it with your client. We have to be very careful about confidentiality, and as with Googling or using Google Translate, it's your responsibility to handle confidentiality properly. So if you're not sure whether the specific text, or I think it's even harder with videos, because in text you can, for example, delete all the confidential information and feed it to the tool. With video, you can't do that. So it's harder. Major LSPs will have dedicated tech teams to handle translation. Yes, I agree. It's they have technical teams. They use APIs, so they take the model and build their own tools using this model as a basis, and they can restrict how the data is handled, so they can use it for confidential projects because they are sure that all the data stays on our side. Ivana asks, how about the paid version of ChatGPT? Isn't it possible there to choose an option not to feed data into the tool? Yes, there is. It's actually available in the free version as well, and I will show how to do it. But still, for example, I never feed confidential information into ChatGPT. If it's a text, if it's possible, you can delete the trade names, for example, the company names, and still use ChatGPT. Or if you're not sure that this handles, if you're not sure that this ensures confidentiality, then you simply don't do it. Sarah asks, so ChatGPT does not ensure confidentiality. Well, I might be overly cautious on this, but I don't think that any of the tools that we will use today ensure confidentiality. So I would not feed any confidential information into these tools. You can, as I said, delete the confidential elements. Some projects are so strict, you can't even do that. So you can't, take the text or parts of the text anywhere. But in some instances, maybe you can just anonymize your text. The last question from Lucy. But the issue of copyright with videos is the same with other types of texts that are not in public domains, like let's say a novel, for example. In what cases can we use it? Are copyright issues the same as confidentiality issues? Okay, I will talk just a minute more about this. It's all this concern concerns are very appropriate and it's important. So I was going to talk about it anyway today. The issue of copyright is also important. Some models, and I will show you the data, are trained on the data that you feed them. So you have to be sure if, okay, copyright is much more complex actually than confidentiality. So if the model is trained on your data and the text is protected strictly by copyright, I would not feed it into an AI tool that we will use this copyright text for training, probably. I don't know if you've seen this, but recently there was like a lot of discussions on how to prevent Meta, the company that owns Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, how to prevent them from using your posts and images and text to train their AI solution. And well, basically, I don't have many answers to that. I tried to look into this. I think that copyright around generative AI is still an evolving field, and you need to be careful if you have any concerns. And it's best not to use these tools or use them in a way, and I will show how to do it, so that you don't feed the text into the tool, but you still use it to help you translate or, I don't know, create. There are ways to do that. Okay. There are so many, I'm looking at the chat now, and there is a questions like, are there any other tools that ensure confidentiality? Or is it an unsolved issue for now? Well, it is solved when the tool is software working on your computer, not feeding the data anywhere. That's what language service providers, that's what the translation agencies do. They download the API, this code for their tech team, and they integrate it into their solutions. So they basically create a software or download a software that is working on the computers, but it's not related to the large language models that are available on the websites. Like, for example, with ChatGPT, you can use ChatGPT, or you can buy the API from OpenAI, from the company that created ChatGPT, and use it in your work on your computer. That's how the agencies handle it. It's more complex for freelancers. With more specialized tools, I think you need to learn more about them to see whether they allow you to handle confidentiality. Okay, Paulo also says there is an argument from Microsoft that all data available on the internet is public. Public does not mean that you can use it in any way you like. Public means that you can read it or look at it, but not, for example, use for your own commercial benefits. So it's different. Okay, I think that we have only an hour left. So let's quickly go through the tools and then into practice. Okay, so we are talking about 5 different tools today. It's ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Copilot, and Llama. And the first 4 of them are available in a large list of countries. For all of these tools, there are countries where you can't access them. You can use VPN solutions, but basically, the first 4 are available to many countries, and Llama is available only in 13 countries, so a very small list. You can easily Google these lists on official websites. Then there is a question of how to sign up. So here you see the links to these tools. I think okay. So here is the on the bottom you see the web addresses for the chat interfaces of these tools, where you can just open them in browser and start working. And unfortunately, I'm in Montenegro, so I don't have access to Meta AI. And when I open the website, it says that I can't access Meta AI. I can try Facebook, logging through Facebook accounts. So when I log through Facebook account, it says that it's not available still. So I don't have any option to show you the Meta AI website, except for the general information. But I found this link. It's some replica of the latest model from Meta AI, the Llama 3 model. I found this link on GitHub. I did not go into depth of forums. It popped up in Google, and so I share it with you. If you want to work with Llama, you can see there are 5 different versions. 3 is the latest. You have here the most accurate, powerful next generation Llama. So here it is for all of you who are not in this very small list of countries. Okay. And here is Copilot. This is something I was trying to do before the webinar, and we will replicate this later. And here is ChatGPT. My native language is Russian, so you see Cyrillic alphabet because I have Russian as main language in some software. Then we have Claude here. It's basic version. You also can access the there is a paid version. Basically, there is a paid version of all of these tools. So there is a paid version of ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and Copilot. I'm not sure about Llama, but as it's, I was not able to explore it. I thought I will be able to, but no. Okay. And the paid versions offer you access to more features and in some cases to more advanced models. But with ChatGPT, you have limited access to their newest model. Even on the free account, you have access to like 20 prompts a day. I will show you how to check whether you're using the latest model or not. Here is a collection of links to official information about these tools. they all are under extensive development, and you might find that some things might change quickly, not as quickly as they've changed in the last year, I think, but still these models are upgraded. For example, Gemini was barred last year, and Claude appeared only about a year ago. Copilot is based on Bing from Microsoft, and basically it's also under development, all of them. So if you want to verify some information, like whether it can access internet or not, whether it can work with images or not, it's best to go to the official help and look there. Okay, so access to internet. ChatGPT has access to internet, Gemini too. Copilot it cannot read the links. So if you add a link to the text, it won't read it, but it can reference web pages to produce responses. Llama cannot access the internet, but there is some plugin. I think it's more suitable for developers. Some plugin to make Llama access internet. Also, there is a question of word limits. So it's hard to find exact word limits of this tool. You can't find information in official sources whether ChatGPT, for example, can handle 2,000 words or 5,000 words in one prompt. But there is a limit with all of these models. And also this limit, it's not only the word limit. The thing is that the larger the chunk of information is that you feed the model, the higher the probability that this model will make mistakes, because you make it process more information. So it's usually best to divide a large text into smaller parts and ask the model to read it one by one. Or you can divide your task into smaller steps. For example, again, I will show you how to do it. You can first introduce the task and then introduce the text. Or you can introduce the text and then introduce the task, and then add some other tasks. So it's usually best to act like this. Okay, then there is also a question of context retention and history. In most tools, it's available only for registered users, even with free accounts. Some tools like Claude, for example, will not allow you use it without a user account. Gemini, Copilot, I think is available even without an account, like a Microsoft account. In Gemini, you have to use Google account, and in ChatGPT as well. You need to use an account. Then your history will be retained, and you will be able to ask more questions. And here you can see this thing about model training. So I will show you how to do it in ChatGPT. It's the only model, it's the only tool where you can actually turn off model training. Oh, I'm sorry, it's all in Russian here. I'm not sure how to do it. I'm sorry, it's my mistake. Oh, sorry. Okay, now we have English. Okay, so here you can see data controls, improve the model for everyone. So you can see here that it says, allow your content to be used to train our models, and you turn it off. Done. By the way, I remember that I turned it off and now it's on. So I advise to check it from time to time. Maybe when you log in and log out, because I was surprised to see that it's on, actually. Okay. And by shared links, it means that you can share links to your conversations with ChatGPT with other users who use ChatGPT. So if you interact with the model, it saves this conversation. Then you can open new conversation, but you can share it, any of the saved conversations with other users. That's what shared links is about. Okay. Then in Gemini, they say that they don't use your data. So does Copilot and Claude. Well, I found the statements from the companies, and there is no option to turn off training, I think, because they really don't use it, I hope. It still does not solve all your confidentiality issues, but still. Okay. So now let's talk for 5 minutes about prompt engineering, and we will apply this data through the practice. I will pause for 1 minute. Do you have any questions, maybe? Okay, thank you. Then let's continue. So when you're interacting with large language model, imagine you are giving instructions to a person who is new to this task. Imagine that you have to make it really clear. It will help the model understand you. So start simple, break complex tasks into steps, use commands. So don't use any pleasantries and things like, could you please? Just tell it to do something. Just do this, do that. Don't complicate things, because the model have to take into account your specific requirements. Don't add any more, style or context elements that are not really relevant. Just be polite, but without all the wordiness. And be specific. For example, you can say, proofread the following text, but there are many definitions of proofreading. So you can say, instead of saying proofread, you can say correct spelling and grammar mistakes in the following text. Or you can say like identify spelling and grammar mistakes and make a list. Or you can say correct spelling and grammar mistakes and present the corrected text without any explanations. The word without is also not so good. So try not to use verbs with, try to say, well, for example, if you say, do not add any explanations, the model might overlook this not and understand it in a way that you are asking for explanations. So it's best to say, present the answer without additional explanations, or present the answer and avoid additional explanations, something like that. Don't use no and not. And this negative phrases, because the model can overlook the small negative particles. So which elements can you add to your prompt? The command or instruction. You can specify the context. You can assign a role or a persona, like imagine you are a professional translator and translate this text into a specific language. You can specify the word limit, what to exclude or what to avoid, what to include. You can, for example, ask it to use a specific gender, or to make the translation gender neutral, or to use capitalization or not use capitalization. You can add a template. You can add an example of a specific style. You can, well, actually, there are no limits. Imagine you are giving instructions to a person and you want this person to succeed. So imagine that you really want best results. So what would you add to a specific command to make it a success? You can add everything to your prompt. If you think that the prompt is too complicated, then use structure, use numbers, like numbered lists, use paragraph breaks. You can also use like asterisks or other symbols to highlight, for example, I will show you, to highlight some headings in your prompt if it's long. And remember that this task is part of your process. So context here refers to the process, and don't overcomplicate. Just focus on a specific task. This is a fun image from my webinar last year. I decided to keep it. So every time you add please and thank you to your ChatGPT prompts, you increase your chances of staying alive when the robots win. And also you increase the chances of ChatGPT becoming more polite and increasing verbosity of the prompts. So I actually, I find myself more comfortable giving polite, specific instructions. But if you like a nice chat, you can add please and thank you, and ChatGPT will follow and make your conversation more pleasant. So you can tune your experience by pleasantries. Okay, and now we finally get to practice. I will look at the chat for a moment. I don't see any specific questions. Okay. So we will take a look at 4 applications: AI-assisted human translation, glossary creation, verification of terminology or style consistency, and multilingual content creation. So we have 40 minutes left today. So I'll be quick. I can stay a bit, linger a bit, so that we cover all 4 tasks, and the whole webinar will be recorded. So if we won't cut any of the parts, I think I'll just be quick. Okay. So what about translation? How can AI help? It can account for contexts, for specific requirements. It can suggest several options of translation, and I will show you this. It can explain you a concept and point where to look if you don't know anything about it. Google can do this as well, but still some people prefer AI these days. You just need to verify everything that comes out of AI. If you can't just, verify it by reading, by your knowledge, you will still need to Google. And AI can translate images. That's what I find really helpful, and I will show you. Okay. So for translation purposes, I will take a sample from a website that is multilingual. It offers 11 languages. It's called MSD Manuals. It's maintained by a pharmaceutical company, but they cover a lot of topics about healthy living and exercise and so on. So we won't go into medicine. But I used this website as a translator, and I've selected it because I know it because I'm a medical translator. I selected it because it's multilingual, and I know that, they make the versions in different languages really equivalent. So you can go and select your own version. As you can see here on the top, you have a lot of options. So you can, I will copy the link as I promised to the chat, so that you can also access. And if you want, you can try other languages alongside me. So let's select this text. It's benefits of exercise, and let's select Spanish version and ask Gemini to translate it into English so that we can all access the output. And let's try different elements of the prompt here. So I'm saying, so just to make sure that everyone follows the praxis, you should be seeing the Gemini chat here, and you should be seeing how I enter the prompt now. Okay, so I will say you are okay. Okay, so it's working. You are a professional translator. Translate the following text into English. Okay, and let's go back to the English version here. And let's ask it to, there is the word doctor is used several times there, so avoid using the word doctor in your translation. Use the word physician instead. And then, as I said, if your prompt is complex, you can structure it. So I made a paragraph breaks, and I use asterisks to highlight that there is the text for translation. Okay. I think we'll use smaller text. So unfortunately, you don't have many options to format the response here, but you can see that you can imitate a bulleted list here and add some more paragraph breaks maybe. Okay. Okay, and to make sure that we have the word doctor, I will also add the last paragraph where we have this word for sure. So let's see what we get. It's very funny actually that it added some headings here. ChatGPT doesn't do that. We'll try the same thing in ChatGPT now. Okay, and you can see that it did not use the word doctor. So the word doctor comes up only once in my prompt, but it used the word healthcare provider to translate medical from Spanish, not physician as I instructed it. Okay. So before I would love to try the same in ChatGPT now, but let's see what we get here. What can we do with the response? So we can show the model whether this was a good or bad response. And this feedback will be used for training, to train the model. And it will also allow the model to tailor the response to your preferences. Then we have options to make the response shorter or longer or simpler or more casual, more professional. And some people say that this is the future of large language model interface, that we will drift from typing the prompt like a text in to selecting different options. It will make the interaction simpler. So you can see that in Gemini, they already have this. Okay, so I also clicked the button double check the response. And now the model helped me verify some of the statements. So they found some references to confirm the statements. It's more useful when you ask Gemini to generate something rather than translate. But since we are comparing different tools here, I just wanted to show you different options. For example, you don't have this in ChatGPT. You can't ask it to verify the response. And we talked a little bit about how the model can train itself. So you see that here it's an additional option for the model to verify its own content and then improve it based on these verifications. Okay, let's try to put the same input into ChatGPT and see whether, oh, and see the response. As you can see, we don't have any extra headings here, so it's a better translation. And here you can see the options. Here you can ask the model to read this aloud. Then you can ask it to regenerate the response. So if you don't like the response, you can simply generate another one. It might be better. I would say that this is a fairly good response, and I'm just showing you the option. You can also indicate that this is a bad response to help training the model. And here you can change the model. So we will be using the Smart and Fast 4.0 model today to show you the best ability of ChatGPT. ChatGPT 3.5, although it says that it's the fastest, it's much worse. So the output will be much worse, and I don't recommend using it, especially since they offer access to the latest model, limited access, but still on the free account. Okay. This is not all I wanted to show you for translation. I'll just chat the question box and the chat now, and then I will show you a few more tricks. Yes, this is the free version of ChatGPT. In the question box, I see the comment saying, is it easy to connect AI tools with other CAT tools such as Translators? If you're not a developer, I would say no, it's not easy. And Phrase, for example, uses ChatGPT large language model to improve the empty output. And I think MemoQ also uses AI to some extent, but it's not something you can manually configure in your CAT tool. Catalina, I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, asked, can we also ask for clarifications in brackets for difficult terminology so as to adapt it for a certain audience? Yes, of course, let's try that. That's what ChatGPT is especially good at, and I will not only ChatGPT, I hope Gemini is also good. So we will ask ChatGPT to explain. I will select only one paragraph so that we have the time to evaluate the output. So we can say add. Okay, let's ask it to translate as well, right? We will select one paragraph. Again, we will say, you are a professional translator. Translate the following text into English. The target audience is patients, not, don't use not, so is patients. Explain the complex medical terms. Complex is a rather vague word. So let's say explain the professional medical terms for the readers in brackets in the text. And again, let's do this text for translation. And also you can say something like this. After the text, you can again say that it's end of the text for translation. And then you can add another requirement or something. But let's try this first. Okay. So as you can see, the ChatGPT, the text is not very different, but we have the explanations here. We have the explanation that osteoporosis is a condition where bones become weak and brittle, and it's basically correct. And osteoarthritis is a type of joint disease that results from the breakdown of joint cartilage and underlying bone, which is a bit stretch. It does not necessarily affect the bone, but still, I would argue that. And I think that all the other terms are not difficult medical terms, so it's done the job. So I will check the question box now. Sarah is saying, I didn't understand what the command text for translation does. Well, basically, if you enter a long text like we did initially, we entered several paragraphs for translation. ChatGPT might think that parts of this text are actually parts of the prompt. We have a heading here that we need to translate. Then we have paragraphs and a list and another subheading. So this input helps the model view the prompt correctly, structure it correctly. Here, I think it's easier for the model to kind of differentiate the text from your instructions because they're in different languages. But if it's all in English, it's just an example of how you can structure the prompt. Okay. I see in the chat a comment about the free account. Well, this is currently I'm using a free account because ChatGPT, well, OpenAI allows you to use the newest model for like 20 prompts a day, if I'm not mistaken, for free. Then if you use this limit, it warns you that you've used the limit. If you like, you can pay for the paid version, but I'm currently not using the paid version. And as you can see, I'm using the latest model. Okay, thank you. The last thing, the last thing I wanted to show you with translation, or rather two things before we go into other topics. So you can ask any of these tools to rewrite this text for to rewrite the text for a specific audience. And now I will ask it to rewrite this text for children of 7 to 8 years of age, just to show you that you can easily adapt the text. And it's very enthusiastic. You see, it says, move it, why exercise is super fun. So it completely reworked the text. It's now shorter and does not use any medical terms. So it simply conveys all the ideas for children, all the main ideas without the details about specific medical conditions that are not known to kids. So that's how you can use it. And there is another important way to use these tools. And it can come handy when you're working with a difficult text or when you are working with a confidential text. If you cannot simply insert the translation into the tool, but you still would like some help in handling different terms, you can ask it to help you with some expressions and with some terminology. So I will start a new conversation here, because when you converse with the model for a long time, it will take into account all the context from the previous prompts. And we would like a clean sheet here. So let's say you are a professional translator specializing in training materials. And help me, no, not just help me with them, suggest 5 translations of the term, of the phrase, I'm sorry, key learnings into, well, let's say Spanish, but you can try any other language. And here you use the power of the model to predict to your advantage. So it can create different variants in a second and help you think, help you make a decision. So here you can see 5 different translations, and it also added some explanations. And by the way, last year ChatGPT worked the same way. It added a lot of additional explanations. Now it is more concise, and this is actually how I prefer it. But here, this can be really helpful for you. I didn't ask for explanations, but large language models, they tend to give you more than you ask for. That's how they're trained to bring more benefit. So here we have 5 versions, and we have 5 explanations. But I would say that you need to verify them using your professional knowledge. I don't know Spanish well enough to vouch for the accuracy of these conclusions, but you might find them useful if you can't make a decision, because it simply helps you think, helps you suggests a lot of variants. You can also use it in transcreation, and this is where it's really powerful, because in transcreation, or maybe in audiovisual translation as well. I'm not an audiovisual translator, so I'm not aware of specific challenges, but I know that you have to, in audiovisual translation, you have to meet specific length limits, and also you can maybe try to ask it for a text that sounds like, I don't know, maybe add some requirements related to how the text is pronounced or sounds here. And again, you can, if you need to brainstorm, you simply ask to create 5, 10, 15 variants, and then you select. You might not select any of these variants. You will modify them, but it will save you time, especially if you have a lot of these creative tasks at hand and you need to do them quickly. So I think that's... Oh, there's another one. Yes, that's what I wanted to show you again. With ChatGPT, with this new model, it works very well with images. So I will ask any image, actually. So here we have an image. We press copy image. I see that you have some questions. I will just show you this magical application, and then I will look at your questions. Okay, so again, let's ask for a new. So we insert the image. I just click Ctrl V, and or I can click paste. So I pasted the image into the chat box, and I say translate all text from this image, present the translation in a table with, from this image, let's say into German, present the translation in a table with 2 columns. first column English, second column German. Okay. And there is where the magic happens. It usually happens for me. Okay. So you can see that you have the table, and if you simply highlight the text and press Ctrl+C, then I'll open Excel for you. You will see that it will insert here as a table with 2 columns. So it's not it doesn't fool you. It does actually create a table that you can use. You can copy paste it. And you can see that it is consistent. For example, the word level is translated consistently. So it will be consistent. This new model is very consistent. And now I will look at your questions. We're done with AI-assisted translation, but I will show you the other applications as well. Okay, so now the questions. Okay, Rodna asks, can ChatGPT be prompted to use only the terminology and definitions from official product websites for translation? That is the question of asking ChatGPT to use the internet, and it can. So if you know that the model can use internet, for example, Claude does not use internet, but yes, you can, of course. You can, for example, you can specify the websites or the product. If you don't trust the model to be that intelligent, you can add a specific text to your conversation. But I think that with models that have access to internet, you can, with ChatGPT, or I think it would be better to do this with Gemini because it uses all the power of Google, and it's better to use Gemini for this. If you want to just say like, use only the terminology and definitions from websites, official website about this product. So I think that's better. Sylvina asks, would you say that this is better than using DeepL? I think it does. It is better, I think, yes. Although I know that DeepL is developing they are using AI in their solutions, but I still think that it's closer to neural machine translation at the moment. I don't use DeepL much, sorry, so I can't. Most of my experience with machine translation comes from using trained engines that my clients provide. Okay, Rodna also says that I got this response. Currently, I don't have the capability to access external websites directly for translations or to pull terminology and definitions from specific sites. Well, if the tool says that, then I think we should trust it and I add the glossary to the conversation, for example. You can say, use this glossary. I will add the text later. Then you insert the glossary. ChatGPT says something like, okay, got it. And then you insert the text for translation. Catalina asks a nice question. Does it translate in the same place of the image, just changing the language? With this language, okay, with this image, let's try it. Okay. Let's just, okay. I'm not sure we will, not sure it will produce the image. Image into German. Replace the text on the, I'll say your response should be an image with text in German. Oops. Copied something different. Oops. Sorry, wrong window. While we're waiting for the ChatGPT to okay. Silvina says that she tried this and got the response that ChatGPT can't directly modify images. Okay, we'll still wait. I'll answer the question now. If our glossary is a Word or Excel document, for instance, can that be attached as part of the command? Oh, you see, we got the translation. Silvina, which tool did you use? I'm using ChatGPT with the latest model with maximum capabilities. So as you can see, Gemini has less. Well, it doesn't have that much capabilities working with images, but as I said, it has more power with Google search. So I will answer the question in a minute. So you can see that we got well, I won't use it in translation, but it's definitely a development, I'd say. I think it is impressive, although not very practical. I would prefer the table and a DTP specialist, but still. Yasmin says, if our glossary is a Word or Excel document, for instance, can it be attached as part of the command? Yes, I think it can be attached, and ChatGPT works with files. But I really want to go through the next part of the webinar now, because we are running out of time here. Okay. So let's go to glossary creation. Again, I will use a multilingual document, and I did this with Copilot to check the performance of Copilot in this. And I will show you the result, I think, because I have it here. I gave two versions of one text in different languages. At first, I wanted to give the links to the text, but Copilot doesn't work like that. I wanted Copilot to analyze two web pages and create a glossary, but it didn't do that. So I pasted the text into the prompt. So the English version, here it goes, and the Spanish version. So I will give you the text. It's again from the Multilingual website, so you can use your language. Sorry. Here is the Spanish version, and it created a glossary. So I did not specify the format, so I got this not really practical response, like the English term and then the Spanish term, but you can see that it matched phrases, not simply terms here, but it was quite accurate. And then we got a disclaimer. It can be expected with medical texts and sensitive topics that you get a disclaimer to be careful. Okay. And then I asked this is what you can do as well, to ask it to complete the task step by step, that what I mentioned it before. So can you turn this glossary into a table with two columns? And here is the glossary in the table format. And since this is Copilot and I have Windows 11 with Copilot, I can edit this glossary in Excel. So Copilot, if you have, you can open it in the browser and use it as ChatGPT. If you have Windows 11, it's integrated into the system. The level of integration depends on your version of Windows and whether you have a free or paid version of Copilot. So if you don't pay specifically for the advanced version of Copilot, you still you have access to limited number of features. If you pay for the paid version, you have more features, but still it is kind of integrated in Windows. So let's edit it in Excel here. And this is the OneDrive document in Cloud with this glossary that was created. You can see it's not perfect because we have here some extra text was extracted from the Spanish glossary, but still it's quite good. It can help you save some time on copy pasting the terms, because you can, if you copy pasted this manually, you would still have to verify the output, and here you get the response and then you verify it. You can add something, delete something, but still it was generated in seconds and you didn't have to copy paste all these terms. A question: is there an AI or any other source to recognize fonts in documents in order to replace text in images? In September, I will be teaching a longer course where we will explore more specialized tools The tools that we are looking at today do not recognize fonts. They don't work. They're not very good with formatting. You can see that they can use some bold, italic, some basic formatting, but not fonts, unfortunately. Okay. Here in Copilot, as you can see, you can also show whether you are like or don't like the answer. You can export it, share it, read it aloud, and basically that's it for glossary creation. So I think the best part for glossary creation is that you can specify the table format, and you can add any specific requirements like which terms to include, which to omit. You can also ask the model to make an expanded glossary. For example, you ask the model to extract terms and provide definitions that were not present in the text. Okay. Then we can use AI for quality assurance. So let's before we go to work with a specific text, we need to understand that we can ask the model to provide different type of feedback. So we can ask it for generic feedback, like whether the text is good or bad or suitable for a purpose. And we will do this now as well. Then we can ask the model to assign a score to the text for some formal purposes. I don't know. It's just something you can do. It's not very, I think, it's not very helpful for individual translators, but if you work in an agency and have to provide a formal assessment, you might explain the score, the scale to the model, and then ask it to assign a score. Then you can ask it for fine-grained feedback. So you can ask the model to point out specific mistakes or to provide some detailed suggestion with examples about specific parts of the text. So let's try, we won't try scoring, but we will try the generic feedback and the fine-grained feedback. Okay. This text is not medical. It's about Montenegro, the country where I live. Just to change the subject. Okay. So let's ask Gemini to we'll start. Gemini has more access to the internet, so we will say that imagine that you are a professional editor. Provide a feedback on this text, and then we include the link, and we will say in your feedback, answer the following questions. Is this text suitable for a website about travel? Then is the style consistent? And I don't know what. what is the target audience? So would like the opinion of whether it is suitable for a specific audience. So we'll ask an open question. So we can see that the model accessed the text, and it says that, yes, the text is well suited for a travel website. Well, basically we knew that, but never hurts to confirm. It provides information of various activities and attractions. Is the style consistent? Yes, it is consistent, and it really is. It is a quite good text. What is the target audience? The target audience is likely people who are interested in travel and exploring new places, but also want to avoid crowded tourist destinations. The article emphasizes bars off the beaten path charm, rich history. This is what the article does. And here also in the end of the response, we see the report. The reviewed website is listed here, like a report from the model, that it really accessed the website. Okay. The next thing that we will do, and we will use Claude for that. I think we haven't used it before now, so let's do that. Let's introduce a mistake here, and let's say make a list of misprints and punctuation errors in the following text. So let's just introduce some, I don't know, some errors. I'm sorry, I have Grammarly here, which is another AI-based tool offering a lot of suggestions. Here, I'll try to turn it off now. Okay. So let's introduce some errors. We will add, I don't know, I see I'm just introducing some inconsistent parentheses. And double. So I think that's enough for us. So I've introduced some errors and oops. Oops. Okay, here it is. Okay. Here is the list of misprints and punctuation errors in the given text. Understatement should be understatement. Clubs should be clubs. Extra period after town. That's what I've introduced as well. The misprint in the word recommend, the Belgrade. Inconsistent parentheses. Double B in bountiful. Double S in traversed. And additionally, the model recognized style inconsistencies, so inconsistent use of single and double quotes, and inconsistent capitalization. I'm not sure whether this is error of the model, actually. It says that Green Mill is capitalized while Pep Galleria is not. And here you can see that they're both capitalized. So that's the thing that large language models do. When performing QA, they tend to give you false positives. And they give false positives more often than false negatives. I think it's this general concept of giving you more than you asked for. So you see that it works, but it might not work that well with other languages because the models are, most of them are English-centric. They are built around a large pool of English data, and then the translation is added. I talked about it earlier today. So that's the reality, unfortunately. And I believe that specialized solutions for QA that will be developed in the industry, I'm not sure there are any AI-based tools for proofreading translations now, except for some in-house solutions. But with these tools, they work best with English, unfortunately. So any questions? Maybe we have still one scenario to cover, and we will cover it. So let me know if you have any questions. If you maybe tried to do proofreading with another language, I'll be happy to know the outcomes. And I asked to show the prompt, so here is the prompt. Okay, you're welcome. Okay. I think since we are 20 minutes after the planned scheduled end of the webinar, and so many people are staying for this extra time, thank you very much. But I don't want to hold you for much longer, so I will continue with multilingual content creation. I will insert the prompt in the chat to so you can use it. Okay. There is a question from Tiziana. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is it better to use cat tools or AI? So it's different, just different tools. Cat tools work with translation memories and help you use your previous translations. They can, well, there are some cat tools that use the power of AI to adapt these matches from translation memories, but they're not equivalent. So I'm not sure. You can compare AI with these large language models with MT, but not with cat tools. Okay, so the last slide here, and the last use case for today is creating content in multiple languages. So according to Slater, nearly 25% of language service providers now offer AI content generation as a service. And this is what is called a future of localization, because instead of creating a text in English, you can create it in multiple languages. And language service providers, especially multilingual language service providers, already have large teams of linguists who can verify this content, and they are already doing that. So if you are a freelance translator or a copywriter who knows different languages, you can offer this as a service too, and you can benefit from it. Let's try generating the content. So again, we will open this travel preparations. And okay. For example, we will take this okay, we will take this list of medications that you are advised to take with you for your travel. And we will ask ChatGPT to convert it into a social media post in 3 languages. So we will say, imagine you are a professional copywriter, and I do use these personas in my real work with ChatGPT. They help the model focus on a specific context and focus on specific expertise that is involved. So I say, imagine you're a professional copywriter who knows Spanish, German, and I don't know, Italian. Rewrite the following text into social Facebook post. Post in these 3 languages. Let's say turn the following text into Facebook posts in these 3 languages. And text for rewriting, we will say this. So I know this is not exactly a translation, but I think this is very important because experts say that this is what localization will look like. And I think it's important that you see how it works, being the linguists that have to use the power of AI to survive in this changing industry. So turn the following text into Facebook posts in these 3 languages. The posts are intended for adult people who travel for, who go on vacation and want to assemble, how do you say it, first aid kit, expand each item of the list into a full sentence. Add, okay, let's not overcomplicate it. Okay. Oh, yes, and what I wanted to do here, let's say it's in the Italian post, just I wanted to introduce different requirements. In the Italian post, do not capitalize. First words of the sentences, just to differentiate the texts. I know it's absurd, but it's just, it will help us quickly verify whether the response is compliant with the instructions. Okay. So let's count the sentences. We had the introduction with 2 sentences, and then we have 6 lists, 6 items of the list here. And we have to have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 expanded sentences in Spanish. And then we have the same in German. So I think that if you know any of these languages, you are welcome to verify the content. It looks like it did a pretty good job. And in Italian, the sentences are not capitalized. So you see that ChatGPT took into account our specific instruction. So this is what basically it looks like. You can ask large language model to produce content in different languages and ask it to take into account different cultural or local requirements. And this is what localization they say what it will look like. So that's basically it for today. Silvina says that it did a great job in Spanish. I've noticed that the result in Italian was not so good. Okay, maybe it was my weird requirement that spoiled the things, but still it's not perfect. It's not perfect human translation. It's better than, say, Google Translate, maybe better than DeepL, if you add some context, but still not perfect human translation. And all large language models need human supervision. Okay, we have one question here, and we've reached the end of my content for today. I'm sorry, I think I was talking a lot about the theoretical part and the current state of the industry. I hope you found it useful. I really wanted to turn this webinar into not simply showing you how to use chatbots, but bringing some value in terms of the vision of what is happening in the industry and what linguists can do. So we won't have time for questions now, unfortunately. There is one question, but I just wanted to remind you before you all go that we have a discount of all TranslaStars courses and plans with the code AI50 that is working until the end of the European Day tomorrow. And we have two courses and one long program scheduled for the next year, for the next, how do you say it, university year. So I have 2 courses, one short, specifically about prompt engineering in September, and I also have, a long 5-day course also in September, where we will explore different. I will show you this course now here because I just wanted to. I'm sorry. This is the long course that will also be in September. AI for we will explore subtitling, transcription, and video generation and other specialized tools that can be useful for content creators. And we also have a long program coming up where it's a master degree with several tutors. It's very thorough, and the discount is also applicable. You can find all the information on TranslaStars website. You can just open the list of courses here in English, and we have the upcoming AI courses here. So here are the contact details that I promised. And I'm happy to connect with you all. Thank you very much for your attention and active participation. The webinar will be recorded. And I was happy to see you all. And I'm happy to continue our discussions. I'm happy to continue them in social media if you like. And there is one question from Anna that I didn't answer. Is it possible to ask the AI tools to provide the results in a specific variety of the languages? For instance, Latin American Spanish? Yes, it is. Of course it is. You can specify the language variant and the country. So thank you very much and have a good evening. The webinar will be recorded, and please share your feedback and your certificates on social media. You can download the certificate on the website by completing a short survey where you will be asked to provide feedback on the webinar, and then you can download your certificate and share your CPD step in your social media. Thank you very much.